When Barack Obama walked into Torno's luxury watch store wearing a simple windbreaker and khakis, the young salesman took one look at his scuffed loafers and decided this customer couldn't afford anything there. Little did the salesman know that he just made the biggest mistake of his career, telling a rising political star that a $150,000 watch was out of his price range. The bell above the door chimed softly as Barack Obama stepped into Torno's flagship store on 57th Street in Manhattan. It was December 15, 2000, and the cold New York air followed him inside. He adjusted his plain baseball cap and zipped up his navy windbreaker. Nobody seemed to notice that a Harvard Law Review editor and community organizer had just walked in. Alex Martinez, a 25-year-old salesman, glanced up from polishing a display case. He saw what looked like just another tourist, baseball cap, casual clothes, no obvious signs of wealth. Alex had been working at Torno for only 6 weeks, and he was still learning to spot the real customers from the window shoppers. Barack walked slowly along the glass cases, his hands in his pockets. The store sparkled with thousands of diamonds and precious metals: Rolex, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, names that meant luxury to anyone who knew watches. He stopped at a particular display and leaned forward, studying a watch intently. Alex watched him for a moment before sighing. Another looker, he thought. Still, he had to approach, store policy. He straightened his tie and walked over. "Can I help you?" Alex asked, his voice carrying a hint of impatience. Barack looked up and smiled. "Yes, I'd like to see that one." He pointed to an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak offshore, its rose gold case gleaming under the lights. Alex hesitated. That particular watch cost $150,000. He looked at Barack's outfit again, the worn sneakers, the simple windbreaker. "Sir, that watch is, well, it's one of our premium pieces. It costs more than most cars." "I understand," Barack said calmly. "May I see it?" Alex shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps I could show you something in our more affordable section? We have some nice watches starting at around $2,000. From across the store, Richard Coleman, the store manager, looked up from his paperwork. He had been in the luxury retail business for 15 years and had developed a sixth sense for these situations. Something about this interaction caught his attention. Barack's smile didn't waver. "I appreciate your concern, but I'd really like to see that Audemars Piguet." Alex glanced around, hoping a supervisor might intervene. None did. "Sir, I don't think you understand. This watch costs $150,000. Maybe you should look at something more realistic." At that moment, the door chimed again. 3 men in expensive suits walked in, laughing loudly. Alex's eyes lit up. Now those looked like real customers. He turned back to Barack quickly. "Excuse me, I need to help these gentlemen. Feel free to browse our Seiko collection over there." He gestured toward a corner display and hurried away. Barack stood alone at the case, looking down at the watch. His reflection in the glass showed no anger, just quiet thoughtfulness. He remembered another time, years ago, when someone had told him what he couldn't do. Richard watched Alex greet the suited men with enthusiasm, then looked back at the man in the baseball cap. Something about his posture, his calm demeanor, seemed familiar. Richard started walking over. "Is everything all right, sir?" Richard asked. Barack looked up. "Just admiring your watches. Beautiful pieces." "Yes, they are. Is there something specific you're interested in?" Before Barack could answer, Alex called out from across the store. "Richard, this gentleman was looking at the Royal Oak, but I explained it might be out of his price range. I suggested he check out our more affordable options." Richard's eyes narrowed slightly. He looked at Barack more carefully now. The man's face was partially hidden by the cap's brim, but there was something. "I see," Richard said slowly. "And what makes you think it's out of his price range, Alex?" Alex laughed nervously. "Well, look at him. No offense, sir, but that's a $150,000 watch." Barack finally looked up fully, pushing his cap back slightly. "None taken. I get it all the time." Richard's breath caught. He knew that face. Not everyone would recognize it yet, but Richard followed politics closely. Barack Obama, the community organizer who'd just been elected to the Illinois State Senate, the Harvard Law graduate who'd turned down prestigious firm offers to work in Chicago's South Side. Barack caught Richard's look and gave a small shake of his head. "Not yet. Would you like to see the watch, sir?" Richard asked carefully. Barack smiled that warm smile that would one day grace campaign posters and magazine covers. "Yes, I would, thank you." As Richard reached for his keys to unlock the case, Barack stood quietly waiting. His expression remained calm, almost amused. He had learned long ago that the best responses often came without words. The game was just beginning. Richard unlocked the case and carefully removed the royal oak offshore, placing it on a velvet pad. Barack picked it up, examining it with genuine knowledge. "What's the movement?" Barack asked. "Caliber 3126/3840. Richard replied. "Automatic, 59 joules, 50-hour power reserve." Alex frowned from across the store. Window shoppers didn't ask about movements. "Beautiful finishing on the bridges," Barack said, holding the watch to catch the light. One of Alex's suited customers cleared his throat. "Hey, buddy, you going to show us this watch or what?" "Sorry, yes." Alex forced his attention back, but he kept glancing over at Richard and the casual customer. Richard was telling Barack about Audemars Piguet's history, founded in 1875 in Le Brassus, Switzerland, still family-owned. "I know," Barack said quietly. "I've read about the manufacture." Alex nearly dropped the Rolex he was showing. Read about the manufacture? That was something only serious collectors did. The suited customers were growing impatient. "Look, are you going to work with us on price or not? Let me speak with my manager," Alex said. He walked over to Richard, interrupting. "Richard, these gentlemen are interested in the Daytona, but they're asking about pricing flexibility." Richard barely looked up. "You know our policy on Rolex, Alex. The price is the price. But they're ready to buy today. As is this gentleman," Richard said pointedly, nodding toward Barack. Alex couldn't help himself. He laughed. "Richard, come on, that's a $150,000 watch. Look at how he's dressed." Barack slowly set the watch down and turned to face Alex fully. "You're right, I should have dressed better. My apologies." Something in his voice made Alex pause. It wasn't angry or sarcastic, it was amused. "No apologies necessary, Mr. Obama," Richard said. The name hit Alex like a punch. "Obama?" He looked closer at the man's face, visible now beneath the cap's brim. The intelligent eyes, the distinctive smile, the unmistakable features he'd seen in the Chicago papers. Barack Obama stood there, watching Alex's face change from confusion to recognition to horror. I didn't," Alex stammered. "It's all right," Barack said. "Happens more often than you'd think." The suited customers had noticed the commotion. One of them stepped closer, squinting. "Wait, is that Barack Obama?" The store seemed to freeze. Other customers turned. Staff members stopped what they were doing. Alex felt his world tilting sideways. He had just told Barack Obama, the Barack Obama, that he couldn't afford a watch. Barack picked up the royal oak again, examining it as if nothing had happened. "Now, about this watch," he said calmly. "I'd like to talk about purchasing it." Alex's mouth went dry. He looked at Richard desperately, but his manager's expression was unreadable. "Alex," Richard said quietly, "why don't you finish helping these gentlemen with the Rolex? I'll take care of Mr. Obama." It wasn't a suggestion. Alex nodded numbly and turned back to the suited customers, who were now more interested in gawking at Obama than buying anything. As Alex fumbled with the Rolex display, he heard Barack say something to Richard that made his blood run cold. "Actually, I'd like Alex to complete this sale, if that's all right with you." The game, it seemed, was far from over. Barack looked directly at Alex. "Do you know why I didn't correct you immediately when you assumed I couldn't afford that watch?" Alex shook his head mutely. "Because I wanted to understand why you made that assumption, and more importantly, I wanted you to understand it too." Barack leaned forward. "When I was at Harvard Law School, I was the first African American president of the Harvard Law Review. Some people couldn't see past my appearance to recognize my qualifications. They made judgments based on limited information." He let that sink in before continuing. "Today, you did the same thing. You saw my clothes and made a judgment about my worth. But here's the thing, Alex, every person who walks through that door has a story you can't see." Alex felt his throat tighten. "Mr. Obama, I'm so sorry, I didn't know." "Exactly," Barack interrupted gently. "You didn't know. That's the point. Now, I'd like to make a purchase, a rather large one, and I'd like Alex to handle the sale." Alex's head snapped up. You still want me to?" "Yes," Barack said firmly. "But first, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about selling watches. It's about respecting every person who walks through that door, regardless of how they look or what you think you know about them. Richard stepped forward. Mr. Obama, that's incredibly gracious of you. Barack nodded, then looked back at Alex. So, are you ready to complete this sale properly? Alex straightened in his chair, new determination in his eyes. Yes, sir, I am. Good, Barack smiled, because I'm not just buying one watch today. Let's go back out there, and I'll show you what I really came here for. Back on the sales floor, Barack led Alex to the watch displays. Let's start over, he said, extending his hand. I'm Barack. Alex took the handshake, his palms sweaty. Alex Martinez. Sir. Just Barack is fine, Obama said. Now, tell me about this Royal Oak properly. Pretend I'm just a regular customer who walked in off the street, because that's exactly what I am. As Alex began describing the watch with newfound respect and professionalism, Barack listened intently. When Alex finished, Barack smiled. You know, Alex, I'd like to buy 3 watches today. This Royal Oak offshore for myself, that Patek Philippe Calatrava for my wife Michelle, she deserves something timeless, and that Vacheron Constantin for my brother-in-law. He just started his own law practice. The total would be well over $500,000. Oh, and one more thing, Barack added. I want to set up a fund with the commission from this sale, something that teaches retail employees what we talked about today, that success isn't just about what you achieve for yourself, but about lifting others up along the way. As Barack signed the check, he turned to Alex one final time. Remember this day, Alex, not because you sold watches to Barack Obama, but because you learned something about seeing people for who they really are. The lesson was complete, and Alex knew he would never judge a customer by their appearance again. Sometimes the most valuable transactions aren't about money at all, they're about the wisdom we gain from our mistakes and the grace others show us in teaching those lessons.